Welcome to another episode of Becoming Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John Davids, and this time, as you know, we're celebrating the month of love and everything to do with love. And we are just in love. We speak about love, we speak about relationships, and we have our first female guest this time around. No one else but Chelsea Goliath. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for what's about to go down.
It's about to go down, you know that.
Yes,
It's about to go
definitely.
down. I mean, first of all, you're the first female for this year for season
Oh, I'm
two.
honored.
Yeah, and it's how we putting the level here, and then the other people on level. It's just um tell us about you. Well, let me first say I know you do poetry. You're a brand ambassador. What is it that people? There's people that know you. Of course they know. I mean the fighters they know. Who don't know who don't. But for people that don't know who you are, tell us a bit about who you are.
So, firstly, I think this is like a cliche to say I'm 23 years old. I'm not ashamed of my age. I'm super young, and that's my power that I use is that I'm young, and God has placed a fire on the inside of me. It's fire lily. So I do spoken word. I speak about issues that the regular person refuse to speak about, but they have it in their heart and mind. I'm a BCom student studying at University of Western Cape, and I am just a family person. I think that's one thing people don't know about me is that I'm very family orientated, but I try to kind of hide my family to protect them because that's the one thing the public doesn't have is my intimate moments with my family.
Oh, that is you. You just got me by the intro, and you're like, yo. And like I say, I do know that we're gonna have a lot of time. The reason why we wanted you on the podcast, because first of all, you're a woman of, as you're young, but you wise. Your corpus they can't go screw. And also you're very transparent. You really like you what you say, what you think is what you say, and that is what I really like about you. And it's not just. And you forgot to say you're a memester. You're a comedian.
I love jokes. I swear, when I was younger, that was my thing. I think when I was in school, I glow up now. There's a glow up, but like, God took me deep out. I wasn't always like this. So I think personality was was the thing that I had to work on, and I think being a joker is what made my presence even appreciated more. Because God didn't bless me in that area at the time. Now He has lavished His grace upon me, But back then it was hard times, and jokes is what I had.
Were you always number one? Were you always, like you say now, the funny one in the room? Like in the families, were you always the one?
Yes, I was the joker in the class. I was the imitator in the family where I would make fun of everyone in the house, in the family, imitate how they speak, how they dress, how they everything. I was
That's legit part of our culture. That comes from like yo, that's somewhere in the roots, no? They I just got.
Yeah.
Were you the person also that your mommy would be like, yo, it's Chelsea, where's how did?
Yes.
Jada,
Definitely throwing money for the dance moves, for the jokes. That
good.
was me. I was that kid.
Now with that being said, like I know you through the industry and obviously we work together and you are really a powerful writer, speaker. You're like legit. Your poetry is very unique. Where did it like start? Like where did you just start? Like obviously it was a day where you were like not a poet.
Yeah.
And it was a day where you just what was that moment where you were like I'm doing this, or not just I'm doing this but this is part of me.
Yeah. Like sometimes I wish I was this age. America's Got Talent people where they're like, I've been doing singing since 2 years old. I don't remember doing poetry back then. It started in 2018 for me. I was like 2 years or 3 years after my dad had passed on, and I didn't know how to cope with what was going on in my mind, how to process. And I remember my aunt, who had also passed on, taught me about writing and releasing. She was very hippie, and so she believed in releasing your energies into the atmosphere, or writing it down and burning it up. And I was like, let me write. And I love P4CM. I don't know if you've ever heard of P4CM.
Yes.
That was the group that I followed all the time. And I was like, if they can process all of that deep stuff, then I should do that too. And
but what is your first poem that you
my first poem of them?
Yeah.
Mine was Almost.
No, I think all of us is almost.
Almost was
Yeah,
what
and
got
you.
me. And I was like, you are there, almost saved. What?
Yeah.
You know, and when I started writing, the first poem I wrote, I cried. I was like crying while I wrote, and it was about my father, what we experienced, because what we went through wasn't out there. It wasn't spoken about. You know how colored communities believe we sweep everything under the mat. Don't have to speak about it. It's gone. It's done with. But that thing still lingers in your heart and your mind. So how can you sweep it under the mat?
Yeah, you are very transparent with your pieces. Like you are putting it out there, like, and I think like where did that boldness come like when you wrote it? Because obviously writing it's much easier, but did you decide that you are going to actually do this piece in front of a crowd of people that you don't know?
Yeah.
And you don't know what the feedback is gonna be like. Where were you like what was it like? What was its first poem like? What was the experience like?
It was hectic. Firstly, I didn't want it. I didn't want to perform to a stage. I just, my friends at university told me, why don't you, because they always used to see me writing in this journal, they're like, why don't you record?
Yeah.
And then I started making videos, but never with the intention, and this is going to sound weird, but I made the videos, never with the intention to post it on Facebook or any of that. I had like few WhatsApp friends, and I was like, okay, and WhatsApp gave you the option to choose who can see.
Yeah, yes.
So
Some people still block.
Yeah. So I chose certain people and I posted. And it wasn't even on long. I took it off. And then someone told me like, nah, you have to send this to this guy. I know this guy. He does like open mic sessions and stuff. And I was like, okay. In a way, I gave it a shot. And he was like, you need to come to our open mic like this Saturday. I was like, I can't. I've never done this. He's like, what's your stage name? I'm like, I don't have a stage name. My name is Chelsea Goliath. He's like, no, get a stage name. We want you on stage. And I went, that same day I was going to cancel, but I was like, you know what, let's do this and see how it goes. The worst that can happen is I fail. Went up, and I was the only person that day to get a standing ovation. And I was like, yo, I was amongst great poets. Like the poet that went up before me, I was like, when I heard she studied this, I didn't study literature, I didn't study poetry at all. Yeah, I'm coming with my 2 cents.
People studied that.
Yeah.
What? Okay, cool. Apple. You guys can just literally talk about I really wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want my mom to like be a poet. They can just make like you do dishes now and make you feel guilty. The dishes is here. Dishes. Yeah, they just break it out. Like, okay, I'm just gonna do the dishes. But I think one of my favorite pieces is the Intuitive Spider.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is so like you can literally hear like the authenticity in that. It's like just very very deep, and it had me. I think that got me from like, oh man, she's a poet. Because remember in my industry, I have poets. I know rappers. I know them, but I can literally put them in like where I rate them.
Yeah.
And that time I'm like, oh, this girl is not just speaking words that rhyme or in a certain way, but this is actually like storytelling.
Yep.
And I was like that day, I was at the bank. I was like, and that really got me. And I think that we started to have like this good friendship. So like this podcast is just about becoming better and things like that. And we have like I just say like we have messed up a lot in the industry, whether it comes to the Christian industry as brothers, or whether it comes just to normal life and things like that. What I like about when it comes to you are not just one way thinking. You're literally looking at it and seeing like is there different ways of the way we can approach it, and also what you talk about. My vibe with you is like I don't know what your status is in a relationship or other relationship or things like that. But for me, it's like I will see a lot of females, and we're gonna get into the gender side, but I see a lot of females out there talking about like, they're single and they're working on themselves and they're doing this and that, and then Peter comes and they fall in love, and then Peter is now number one in their life, and then after Peter breaks their heart, and then I'm working on myself and stuff. What is your vibe about that? Because you and like as a even like I don't know what your state is right now, but even in your singles you are that like you keep character since the time I known you like till now. That is who you were, and you're the one person or one of two people that I know that kept that they spoke in the beginning, and you are still keeping that standard.
Definitely. I think to say anything that sounds amazing right now is going to be hypocritical. So I'm going to be honest because this is what what this is all about, is being raw.
Yeah.
And I think if I were to say, yeah, no, those girls, I'm going to be a hypocrite, because it happens to the best of us. It is not a particular type of female, it is not a particular type of population. It is a thing that all of us encounter. It just depends on how long we are willing to stay in that season, where we allow ourselves to be in a top mode, like, yes, I got this, I'm working on me, and then boom, like you said, Peter comes and Peter just brings her back down to the valley. But that's the thing. I've gone through that myself. But the difference between myself maybe and someone else is that I don't publicize what my relationship status is or what I'm going through. That's why people won't know. Say for instance, and I hope this is I forgave this person. I genuinely did.
Okay.
And we actually had a whole conversation last week, and we had this healing process of breaking up. But last year I found out that this guy that I was kind of seeing, had a whole other situation going on. And I didn't know about it until we broke things off, and I decided like I can't be what he needs me to be, and that was a girlfriend full time, because life was happening to me and I couldn't give even half of myself to another guy, and it was unfair of me to expect him to wait or to accept half of me. He doesn't deserve that. Like, we see people in God's image, we're supposed to lay down our lives, not part of our lives. And I found out that, he had a child that I didn't know about and all those type of things. And in that moment, I realized the power of keeping your love life low-key. Not private, low-key. And not a secret. It's not a secret. It's just that it's yours and it needs to stay there. Because had this been a public thing, everyone would have been like, but Chelsea, you made a poem the other day.
Yeah, but Gail of working on yourself. What's happening?
So yeah, but also it's about loving yourself, man, knowing your worth. And I think in that moment when I found out that I chose myself, without a doubt, I didn't go to the woman and tell her, yeah, your man. I didn't do that.
And you have to speak for yourself.
Exactly. I honored what God placed on the inside of me enough to know that speaking to her, to tell her what he did, is not my business. What happens in the dark will come out, but it's not my job to make it come out. Exactly, and I'm not going to, because it's a shame for me. For me, it's like, I know who I am. I know what God placed on the inside of me for me to take pride in that. So I think, and in that, I taught him Christ's character even, because he came back to me the other day and he's like, he has never met a female like me, because a normal woman would have gone,
come on now, Martha, come on now,
hashtag men are trash, but I didn't. I even forgave him and I told him, you are not your mistakes, you're not what you did to me last year, you were a new man this year. So I can't look at you through the lens of what you did to me. Not because...
I think that's such an important lesson, and thing that you say, because now it's the same grace that's given unto you, you are just passing it on to someone else. And I think that's a problem that some people have, and this is what I, in the beginning, like with my relationships before this, was that you were so like, oh, this person is wrong, and then when you sit down, you're like, oh, but you are also trash. And I think what we had an episode where me and Crystal spoke about, like, my trash was before I even met her.
Yeah.
And then it made me think like, yo, dude, you are lekker trash when it came to. And even to a point when I was thinking, sometimes I thought I was right in the past, and I'm like, I was so wrong. And obviously, I'm now much more mature to understand how wrong I was, but it's only that thing also where you learn it. My thing is just learn and get mature about it. Don't be like, oh, I'm learning, but you're doing nothing else. So, once 2018 and 2015, so see how it was. You cannot be that person.
Exactly.
But what you now see the point where you're like saying, keeping it very low key is also very important, because not only people need to understand love is not instantaneously like just, boom, you love and you're on that level of love. It's literally you need to build to a place of where you know. Like, many people have been engaged and married, and you need to like, that it didn't work out. But because we have publicized everything so much, and we believe that if we do it public, people don't even ever speak for public, they don't even care about public, they don't even care if you married. So it means that you literally need to take care of this seed where you, and this is where I got, because in the beginning with my relationship, I'm the very, I'm here.
Yeah.
Everything happens here. I don't care. I'll put the camera on and we just hoy. And then she was really private. And I was like, yo, Lord, why are you using me like that? And then I've learned that I didn't stop these things because I'm scared or anything, but I stopped these things because I was protecting what we have.
Yep.
And that taught me not to, and then something also happened on Facebook, and I was like, yo, I'm actually glad that I'm now very low key on weight. Some people are like, oh, you still, I'm like, yes, we're still good. We're very good. We're actually very good. But people is waiting, because some people is extremely happy for who you are, and some people is waiting for you downfall. And so for me, it's like exactly how I'm thinking, like some business things, where I'm also really excited to reach the same thing I work with, because it's important, not because I'm scared, but I'm just to protect what you have. And like you said, and then I've learned that when I'm married one day, I'll treat my family, my children the same way. Yeah. So yeah, that is.
And I mean, you want to be so happy. You're excited to share God's goodness. You want to be like, yo, God came through for me. I was single for so long, and God finally sent this person.
Come on now.
And look what God has done. Because you want to give the other singles like hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the society that you live in, you need to protect what you have. Like Jesus chose who he wanted to transfigure in front of. You need to be selective who you allow to see parts of you that is so sacred. Not every disciple is ready to see you in your fullness. Yeah. And even the ones that you choose is still not going to. I mean, the 3 that Jesus chose was still like.
Even them were like sleeping. I'm like, yeah, your niggas are still sleeping. So for me, it is true what you say, and that is exactly where we also, because I mean, we're almost dating now we're going for 2 years, but there's still parts of myself that I haven't revealed, not because I'm scared again, but to a point of you also need to earn this trust, because there's a lot of people, like for me personally, I'm a very open man. This is my life. And you know, those girls that I told my life to, like, they don't even hear no more. Like, they have stories about me and know things about me that they are not out there. And that's where I was like, now it's also to protect yourself. Like you said, you have so self-respect and you know your self-worth, that you keep that so sacred until it's not just for a girlfriend or fiance, but for your wife and for your husband. But not everything. And I think that is in every area now, whether it comes to business partners, when it comes to friendships. You don't reveal everything. You don't really give your bank details to your friend. Like, you're so funny, let me give you. No. Certain things are just revealed to you with certain people. And as we're in the month of love, like, what would you say, like, what would you do better now? Not on what are you looking out for now, or like what is the stuff that you'd be like, this is the red flags for me. There's a lot of stuff that I used to do. I'm like, yo, this girl is nice. Yo, sure. I just that's the thing. Now I'm like, hair, body, that comes because it's like the Bible said, beauty for I could But now it's like I said, like I told Chris, like I told her, like, the one thing I'm in love with is nothing but your mind. Because your mind is super smart. Like, you're really, I call it smart because you're super smart. But not just in relationship, but also the way we do things. And for me, it's like, what would you say would be the things that you look out for now? Because obviously everybody wants somebody. Yeah. Somebody needs, you need somebody that you can always go back to and be like, you know what, I'm having a bad day, I just want to be with you. Or just have some good news, I want to tell you about it. Like, what would be the things that you'd be like, now it's going to be like, that's a no-no for me?
It's so broad. It's a very tricky question because I mean I have a lot of things that I look out for, but I think the main thing is myself. I'm responsible for myself. I cannot control a man. I cannot control how he thinks, how he responds, or who he is. For all I know, he could be pretending, but how he makes me feel based on what I'm feeling, that for me is a red flag. If you make me feel insecure, knowing the type of person that I am, and this is very important. If you are insecure before you meet a man, you can't use this concept that I'm using. But if you are a woman that is grounded in Christ and you know where you are, and a man makes you feel out of place, or a man makes me, I'm speaking by myself, a man makes me feel out of place, I know that that's not my husband. Because he needs to make me feel the way I feel when I'm with Christ. Founded, grounded, and protected. I love a guy that's like, boom, hands on and strong and whatever. But at the same time, I want a gentle person. Because I come out of an abusive household where my father, he also didn't know better. You know what I mean? It's like toxic masculinity that was passed down. And he raised his hands towards my mother and he used to beat her up and all those type of things. We ended up in a shelter. So for me, when I see a man even get the slightest, you don't even have to fight. If a man makes you feel a certain way and you tell me, yo, if it wasn't for Jesus, ooh, bro,
Stress,
cancel.
yeah.
Because you didn't know how to control your anger in that moment.
I do think a lot of, I have a story of someone that worked with my mom, and she was married, and in the army and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he was also really her. And they got just married for a couple of months, and he just made like that. They need like she divorced him. He lost his mind, and he was like, why? He's like, she said, if you can lift up your hand, that means that he or respect her. And I think that is one of the things that women be like, I'm not going to make a slutty man. And that's how you tell. The question I want to ask you is this. Obviously, you're very open with your life and what you've been through. I just want to know this thing. How did you get here, and how are you dealing with it? Like what you've been through, and not using that as because you know women out there. Whatever they've been through, whatever we have it as a backup, as like I'm the user. Because you know, like you took something from me, you broke my cup. Okay, I'm gonna use that so that I can have something against you.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like some women have that issue where they have this stuff, the issues, and they can be like, I want to keep this so I can just use it just in case.
Yeah.
You don't do that. You literally you've been through a lot, but you still are so, how can I say, so neutral to not just like to human beings or to anybody else. You're not just like, like this man. I mean, even speaking to when we met, we spoke and we had a nice conversation. Some girls is like, oh no, I don't want to speak to guys now because they are trash. You are not like that.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point, and what would your words be to like other females that has also been through hard times?
I think my daddy has a massive role to play in how I view life and people. And today he's not here for me to thank him actually, because as much as he was bad, he was also good. And because of that, I realized that every him has a version to him that deserves to be loved, honored, and respected. And I think my daddy, as abusive as he was also protective, which is weird. Like, one moment you beating us up, the next moment you want to protect us with all of your life, the next moment you want to support us. And because of that differences in one person, I realized that I cannot look at every man through the lens of my father. Just because your daddy did this, now this man is also going to. And it's a constant thing. I have to choose it every day to change my view on how I view men, how I view myself, how I view even my sisters. Because when I meet a woman and she maybe does this, and I'm like, I don't want girls as friends. And it's you.
Oh, that's
I like guys as friends. But God has changed that. The way I actually have girlfriends now. But I didn't have back then because I painted every woman with the same thing. And you just want to have drama, argue. I'm not about that. I don't like arguments. I stay away from it. Exactly. And now I'm like, but not everyone is her, and not everyone is him. I need to get to know you to make that opinion about you as an individual. So yeah, like I said, my daddy taught me that I need to get to know you and also be patient with you, because the same hands that used to beat us eventually became the hands that lifted holy hands to Jesus. And that's the beauty of life. Like, someone can do a 180 in that moment, but you still holding on to parts of their past, and they can't change because you didn't forgive, you didn't let go.
And I think that would have been such a hard thing to live with if you still kept that grudge like till this day. Because now there's no way you can reconcile it. But if you keep that now for all the years, it would still like your. And I think it's really powerful now for me. It's like, strength is not in that, you have your job, I make my money, I get my pay, pay my bills, all this stuff. Strength is literally these constant decisions where you're constantly battling these thoughts and memories and a smell always. And what comes in your mind, but you literally have to get over the point where you're like, I'm making this decision to like think better, approach better, speak better. We had a chat earlier, we had a pre podcast recording early on. And you made mention of with how guys would buy things and it will just stand there and all this stuff. And I was like, I know what that is like. Because sometimes to me, I grew up like, if I pay, I'm the gentleman.
Yeah.
But then I just realized that everybody has different love languages.
Definitely.
And that is one of the things that I would say. I can tell you now, people's gonna listen to this and they'll be like, what is love languages? I spoke to my mom, like, Mom, what is daddy's love languages? She didn't know. I went to my sister, like, what is your husband's love language? I'm like, they didn't know. And I'm like, how can you not know? And I'm like, this is the stuff that irritates your relationship because you literally don't know what your partner wants and who you want. What would you say is the importance of, first, what is your love language and what is the importance of knowing your partner's love language?
My love language is definitely words of affirmation, acts of service, and I like touch, but it's the touch part is so complex because I don't like necessarily want to just be hugged by everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
But if I have built a connection with you, that is like my way of connecting with you so that you can feel loved or that I even feel loved. But definitely the top two is words of affirmation and acts of service. And I think it's important in relationships to know your partner's love language because you cannot give them the same love that you want. Because everyone is different. Say for instance, his love language is gifts, mine isn't. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't give him gifts because that's his love. And it teaches you compromise, teaches you to know what it's like to let go of self for a moment. My love language is affirmation, words of affirmation, but his isn't. His is quality time. So even though I don't like spending time, I'm going to make time because it's your love language.
I think mine was also affirmation. I'll look with a fresh fade and I'm like, yo, you're not gonna say anything to me about affirmation. I literally sit so long in the barber for this fader. And I'm like, yo.
And that's the thing, like my love language of words of affirmation is not even the regular type of words of affirmation because I know that it's like, oh, your dress is nice, or oh my word, you look beautiful. That's not, I hate that ones. Mine is, oh, I noticed that you like going to the beach.
Okay, cool.
It's that's words that is like where you took note of my being or my character and you were affirming that. Just because you took note, and I think it's more the taking note part for me. That like, oh my word, you took note. That I love the ocean or that I love the moon, and you voiced it. So yeah.
I do think a lot of couples have that thing because, like I say, in the month of love, we really want to discuss these things the way we can just be better. I would always say, well, I love this thing because my thing is this. Yes. God can send somebody and yes, this and this and blah, 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 but you're still human beings. Because me, my previous life, I was like, you know what? I'm going to serve the Lord and God's going to give me somebody. And the somebody always is just going past and that one is thinking that somebody and this one. And I'm like, yo, why is this? I'm serving the Lord, like, what are you doing, sis? And I know, girls, you can say what you want. You want a good guy, but you don't want a good guy also.
Yes.
It's very boring. It's very like, soon too. So that's where I had to learn. Like, Jean, you need to go up the way. You need to like, you know what, grow something. Just go up and like, yo, what's up? I'm Jean. And it's tough for us because y'all have the decision not to say yes and no. But I had to learn that like, for you just to like be the good guy and dress well, that's not enough. You need to like. What would you say to the guys like? Guys are shooting the shot on the whole on the DMs and things like that, which I think guys please stop it. It's 2021.
Sure.
Dude, it's really one in a million cases that you're gonna end up marrying that person. Yeah. What would you say for people? What would you keep before guys to shoot their shot? Because you're a woman. I can tell guys like do this, do that, do that, but you know from a woman like, what you want. What would you say to him that's out there listening to shoot his shot? What would be the key thing?
I think I don't want to like group it where it's just like Christian men in general. I think men should start understanding the idea of what dates is. Dates is not we are official or like I want to marry you tomorrow. Dates is getting to know someone. And the only way you're going to get to know someone is if you go on dates with him. And that person gets to know you. It's not just a one-way thing, but you get to learn like he's just the type of person that I want. Like the way you think, the way you speak. And there's many times where a guy looks so hot on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm like, oh God, that's my.
Anything I'm very like quick to say. And I'm also so when it comes to chicks. Eat anything, guys, watch out for the word my friend. Hey my friend, you're not making it out of the friend zone.
No.
Thank you, buddy. You out there, you in there. My brother in the Lord, you are not you're not gonna make it. There is no hope. What's the other words that you need to look out for? Show me.
There's a lot of things that's not even named. Just the way she handles herself around you, you can tell when you're going to be friend zoned.
Yes.
When she wants to have you around, but only because she needs you for a particular thing, that's when you know you are being used as a guy. Don't stay around. There's guys that will go the extra mile for women, like break their backs. And it's sad to see that they don't end up with their goal, that they break their backs for.
Yo, I was so yo. But the thing is we are coming to a close, and I do think I would really love to have you like as a guest again in the future. Just because like I said, I like the mind and the way you speak it. But my thing is, what would you say? Like, what would somebody know the difference of pursuing this thing? Because I think there's a very fine line of like, yo, I'm gonna pursue this thing. This is gonna work. Then to like, but are you just in the friend zone? For example, Mr. 4 years. That is a new word for me. You've reached, he clocked the game of friend zone.
Yeah, he's the
Yo. So what would be like the thing of like, dude, when you pursue this thing and when you're just like, nah, this is I'm throwing in the door.
And I don't like texting. So there's going to be a woman that just because she doesn't text you back doesn't mean that she doesn't want you back. But a woman that wants to see you, a woman that wants to see you regularly, that is a woman that you know she's actually interested in seeing me and being with me, spending time with me, taking time out of her schedule. Guys, if a woman tells you that she's always busy, 9 times out of 10 she's contemplating you as a guy. She likes you, but she doesn't see herself with you. And so she'll keep you there because you bring her a satisfaction that the guy that she's actually interested in is not bringing her. And this is just straight facts.
And the good guys, I shame.
Shame you, the good guys. Guys, it's always the bad guys that get the good girls.
Easy, and then many years later, then hi, my brother, I've been waiting for you. You're the good guys. I know it's very hard, but I just tell the guys, like, yes, because this is my thing. I open the door for my girls, not every single day. I'm not like every day. Okay, hello. But this is the thing, like, what, tell the end thing, what will your, who's phoning you? So the thing is this, what will your words be to Chelsea that is 14 years old, or Chelsea that is just starting life? Like what you've learned now, what would be your thing to her?
To love without reservation. Don't hold back, but love, irrespective if that love won't be reciprocated. Love deeply, love hard, love like it's nobody's business, because it will only teach you more about yourself than it will teach you about people. Because to be honest, I was a very reserved person. I hated to love at that age. Didn't know how to love, didn't want to love. And now I'm suffering because of it. I have to learn how to love now. So that's my advice to myself, 14-year-old me. Love. Love that guy, even if, because, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yo, I really enjoyed this. I honestly enjoyed it. Like I say, I think we can really talk for hours. Because for me, like, it's all about content. I don't care how beautiful you are, but if you cannot have a normal state conversation.
Yeah.
Because some of the people, like, buy you, but yeri, it up drugs. We're going to end off now, and the last thing I would just say is, like, just something that people is going to remember you by, like, when you're not here in 2021 or 201, and we're not here anymore, what do you want people to remember you by?
That I taught them how to love themselves firstly and to love others. Like, flat out lay down lives, not reserved, not halfway, but full love. And that's something that I think I always strive to, is to teach people to love and love themselves. It's the greatest commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Self. Ooh, that's the important part too.
Cool. Sure, okay, what you want to know? You didn't even finish your coffee, but it's cool. But we having some cheesecake coffee up in the place. You're supposed to just let us know how it is. This is that advert where people, they don't even chew, they're like, Oh, it's so nice.
No,
but I know you're not. It is really nice.
Super creamy. The coffee beans is amazing.
Barista.
Yep.
Cool. It's really nice. I love it. My home, away from home. When you're coming back on social media one day, where can people get hold of you?
On Facebook, it is Chelsea Goliath. On Instagram, it's Chelsea_Fire_Lily. For those who don't know what the underscore is, it's that little dainty at the bottom.
The low-key minus.
Yes, there we go. And then on TikTok, it's also Chelsea_Fire_Lily.
Okay, cool. Anything for the new year, for this year?
Definitely. I have some new stuff that I've written. I hope that I start sharing them because it's very intimate. But yeah.
Okay, guys, that's Chelsea the Fire Lily. We enjoyed this episode. Please do share it with your friends and family, and let us know what you think about the episode. This is John Davids, and we are out of here.